to address that when you write from the pronoun of I, it is a very scary place. I think this, I believe that, I would like to see this type of change, I'm calling for action. It's a very frightening place to write from a place of such vulnerability, because with that territory comes criticism, right? There's going to be hate mail. People get nasty. We only have to go to the internet to see comments that are very hateful. However, if you have the kind of fortitude that can brush aside that kind of criticism for the greater good that you feel you are doing in the world, then perhaps you have the stomach for this kind of work. Because really what opinion writing is the art of persuasion. You are trying to bring people over to your point of view. And honestly, not everyone is going to agree. There are going to be people who are going to be absolutely intractable in their opinions and their feelings, and anybody who comes across as an opponent, they will hate.
Thank you, Suzette. That was quite an insightful lecture, and I'm sure our students must have learned a lot from your experiences of over 30 years in the American column writing and opinion writing industry. I would now like to open the session for a question-answer round, and we have lots of questions, but we have very little time.
So the first question is from our student Yash, and he wants to know from you, what happens when politicians start using the journalist as a tool to convey misinformation? How do we tackle such a situation?
Yash, what a great question. Yes. Well, we see that happening all the time. And I think that it all comes back to, if you are a journalist and if you are a reporter, which is very different from a columnist, an opinion writer, because again, an opinion writer is, what their personal opinion is, and a reporter is supposed to be getting all the facts and not inserting him or herself into the story, right? But I do think that it all comes back to widening your sources, maybe having to go around and find someone who can direct you to the truth. And you know what? This is really hard work. Fact finding is really hard work.
Here's another question. This is by Shivangi. She wants to know, she says that you've been on TV a lot and you've also been a newspaper writer. She wants to know what are the qualities of a good anchor if she needs to be, carrying a strong opinion into the show.
Sharondi, thank you for that question. I have my own TV show. It's called It's All Right, WRITE, with Suzette, where I present authors' books and their works. And that's basically where, where my television persona comes from. I think that what has really propelled me forward in the direction that you would like to go is my ability to speak smoothly and to interview people. And I think that being able to interview people is always a good skill to have if you're going to pursue a career in TV.
Okay, I have another question from Advait. He wants to know that you mentioned in your when you were speaking earlier, you had said that it is okay to be biased when you're writing an opinion piece. But he wants to know that if you're biased, won't you be vulnerable to compromise on facts and statements?
When I say biased, I mean, okay, let's take, there are two sides to an issue, all right? And then let me go back to my column, that my beginning column that was so powerful that it actually got me syndicated nationally, the subject of abortion. That is a very controversial very divisive subject, correct? All right. So I am biased, okay? I am biased in that I would be, in my life, I made the personal choice against abortion. Now, am I going to write a column in the vaster scheme of things, encompassing every single person and telling them what to do or condemning people? My bias was clear in my personal experience that I chose against it and how it benefited
So
me.
Satvik Iyengar wants to know that where do you draw a line when you're having a comical or humor approach to writing about religion or spirituality?
Well, I don't know. Well, where I draw the line is that for myself as a writer, I don't make fun of religion. I don't make fun of people who believe differently from me. I often write with self-effacing humor. I make, like maybe I don't understand something, or maybe, or perhaps maybe a particular religious tenet might hold that I should be kinder or more compassionate. And guess what, folks? I'm not. And I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, but this is what I'm facing right now. And you know what? I'm not kind. And that's the kind of humor, that I think that I often use.
So Ada has a very relevant question. She wants to know, how can an opinion writer actually, what can he do if his idea or his opinion is rejected by a newspaper who follows a certain line? So you have to align yourself to what line a newspaper follows. So where exactly do you place yourself then?
Well, haven't you just hit the world of journalism's problem on the head? That's a really good question. And this is the problem now, there was that controversy in the New York Times where where James Bennett, the editor, was fired, or let go because he featured a writer whose opinions were very, very different, where they didn't like the opinions being presented, right? And Barry Weiss, one of the columnists, quit in protest, saying that this is the problem. A diversity of opinions are no longer being promoted. You have to almost follow the party line, and if you're not, it's not only are you not included, but you can be canceled or fired or persecuted because you feel differently from everyone.
So Trisha Deka wants to know if it is a controversial issue in which people have already made up their minds on both sides of the spectrum, then how does your opinion even count? And how can you, does your column have the power to change opinions in volatile subjects or controversial subjects like homophobia or some such other thing?
Well, yes. I think of it as, yes, I do think we make a difference. Maybe the change isn't overnight, maybe it's not instantaneous, but it is change, and change does
come. So I think we are running out of time, so I'll round off. I have a couple of more questions before we end this session.
Okay.
So, one question is by Anushka Sharma. She wants to know, is there any place of skepticism in an opinion column? And I mean, do you have to always have a conclusion, or can you throw a question?
You can throw a question. There are many columns, like I say, spark a national dialogue. You're not going to solve the problem, but you are creating a dialogue, a talk about something. You're having people think about something. One thing that I would suggest is that if you're going to throw out a problem, then you should have at least a potential solution to it. You should have a call to action.
Okay, just one more last question. So giving your writing a personality takes time. It also requires that you have a very clear sense of who you are and try different forms of writing to explore your range of writing skills. So what should be the starting point for any young journalist who wants her opinion to matter? This is a question by Sunita.
I think it's really the craft of writing. Think about something that moves you personally. Always come from a place of emotion first. Let's say, I don't know, you take something in your own personal life that always struck you as unfair. Perhaps maybe your mother could have been a brilliant surgeon and she was denied the ability to go to school. Maybe that might be your subject. Pretend, okay? So you feel an emotion in there and then write about it. Think about what's the point. Maybe you're going to compare your own ability to go to school and how you're living the dream or the legacy of your mother. Let's just pretend. And so you're structuring your column in that this is what I want to say, this is the story I'm going to use, and this is how I'm going to, this is the point, this is the takeaway that I want my readers to know, that education is personal and it is beneficial, and I have a purpose to my life. I'm living out my mother's dream. And the call to action is to those people, perhaps parents, who are saying, well, I don't know if I really want to send my kids to school. Maybe it might push them, it might tip them in the point, toward like more education, better education, investing in their daughters or their children, So all I can say is it takes practice. You just keep doing it. I look back at some of my early columns and I think, oh, I'm appalled. I went on too long. I repeated myself too much. Oh, this is terrible writing. But okay, so I've had 10 years of practice. And it's the same for you. You're so young, you're starting out, you're getting a great education there, you're being exposed to a lot of ideas, you're going to reject some and take some as your very own. You probably have writers that you will emulate. I know I started that way, emulating the writers that I admired. And before you know it, you will develop your own voice and style, and you will transcend those people that you emulated because you have your own voice, and it will come. But don't be discouraged and don't expect it to happen overnight. Just pick something really powerful that moves you and let that be your starting point.